Welcome to Cloud's Retirement Chat. We help build better retirements. I am John Jagay. I'm joined by Tommy Cloud. Great to be with you, Tommy.
Thank you, John. It's great to be with you as well.
So it is our very first episode. I'm excited to get into this. I'm excited to see you and hear you. I'm also jealous because you are in Georgia. I am in Michigan, where I walked my dog and it was 25 degrees this morning. So
That's pretty cold, especially for us hot lanterns down here.
Exactly. So I know it's the end of the year. We're recording this on December 16th, and folks are thinking about their financial futures, particularly after really tumultuous 2020 rather. And a lot of this starts with finding a financial advisor. And one of the most confusing things about finding a financial advisor is fee advisors versus no fee advisors. Can you walk us through that and explain how that works?
Well, sure. That's something that has been near and dear to my heart since I entered this industry back in 1998, coming out of Georgia Tech, where I studied finance and went straight into the banking industry. I went to work for a little bank called First Union National Bank in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was later purchased by Wachovia.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason I mention that, John, is because I think it helps to kind of set the stage for how I started out. And that was basically I was on the phone with people that would call into the bank selling them products that the bank offered that were checking accounts, money market accounts, CDs, and anything else like that. And I worked on a commission for selling them those products. I didn't really get into their financial life. I didn't really ask them any questions about their budgeting or their insurance situation or certainly their tax ramifications for some of the assets that they owned. So all I did was just sell the products. And then I went into 2000. I started this business 20 years ago, been very fortunate with it, and was able to start talking to people about all types of products. I had a Series 65, but also had an insurance license. So at that time, I was selling annuities for commission there again. And sometimes it was basic single premium deferred annuities or variable annuities, or of course the equity index annuities. As we've all heard, those of us that listen to Clark Howard have probably heard him say negative things about annuities. And certainly there are many expensive annuities out there. And those are the ones that he's talking about, the ones that you buy typically from an insurance agent and they make a commission off of it.
Right.
So what we want to move into now, John, is directly your question, is a financial advisor versus fee only. I was a financial advisor in this industry from 1998 until 2008. And in 2008, I became fee only. That was about 12 years ago.
Right.
And so there's three different types that I want to talk about. Number one is the kind of like your broker, and which can also be called a financial advisor. Now, your broker makes commission off the sale of products. It can be mutual funds. It can be annuities. It can be long-term care insurance. It can be life insurance. Any of those type of products, these people they can oftentimes look at your situation. They'll sometimes offer a free financial plan and then make recommendations. These people are still the majority of what my industry makes up.
Right.
Last I checked, fee only financial planners like me, they're holistic, represent about 13% of my industry, which has grown since I entered.
Yeah.
It was much lower. And so you've got number one, which is just strict commission based. They don't do any fee work at all. Then you've got the hybrid model that is what we call fee based.
Okay.
And the fee based, John, is where they do some fee work. They might charge you money for a financial plan. They might charge you money on a fee on the percentage of the assets that they're managing for you. But they also can sell you commission-based products, like, for example, insurance. So maybe they sell you a life insurance policy and make a commission off that. And then off the money they're managing for you, they're charging a fee. And these are called fee-based. And there's a big difference between the two.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we go to the final one, which is the only one that's now still held to a fiduciary standard. Many people remember the laws of 2017. They tried to put a fiduciary standard on stockbrokers and financial advisors that were working at places like Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley and some of the banks. And that didn't work. They went back to now it's still us, the fee only financial planners, wealth managers, and holistic planners that are here still with a fiduciary standard, which means that we are required to put the interest of our client above our own interest.
That is really an important point, Tommy. I want to stop down here for a second because that fiduciary standard, as you said, it mandates legally that an advisor held to that standard acts in the best interest of their client, as you said. But when you think about somebody who is selling stuff at a commission, whether it's your days at the bank, whether it's an advisor today, and they have all these products in front of them, it really begs the question of what's their motivation when they've got something like that. I don't want to speak ill of another advisor. I'm certainly not going to do that. But when you think about somebody who is selling something and they're getting a commission for selling certain products over and other products versus somebody held to a fiduciary standard where they have to act in their client's best interest, I think that's a really important point of differentiation.
Well, I'm glad you paused us there, John. That's a great point. It was hard for me. I entered the industry in my 20s. I opened up this business, this RIA, at the age of 26. Here, I believe I was the youngest RIA in the state of Georgia at the time.
Sure.
And when I opened it up, I was still selling insurance products. And it's hard when you're trying to support your family. And, I have 4 children, and my wife and I were popping out kids left and right. And and here I am, and someone's wanting to invest $200,000 with me, and I'm 28 years old or 48 years old. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you've got one annuity that's going to pay me a commission of 1.5%, and I've got another annuity that's going to pay me a commission of 7%.
There you go.
And that's the difference between $3,000 and $14,000. And you really have some very, very tough choices to make that I thought were too difficult for me. Now, fortunately, I was able to show my clients the commission sheets and what we were doing. And I made a decision that I was going to try to sell what was best for the client regardless. However, it was very tempting. It was very hard. It was very difficult to make the right decision by the client when you're faced with thousands upon thousands of dollars and you've got children and a family that you're trying to support. It's really tempting and very difficult to make the right decision. And, for those of us that are strong in our faith, we know that the Bible says to flee from temptation.
Yes.
And when you've got these huge commissions lined up in front of you, and, do I want to make $3,000 or $14,000 in this particular example of a $200,000 sale? Believe me, it's very difficult. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody who's trying to better themselves and improve the reputation of this industry and be the best that they can be for their clients.
It is such an important point. So how did you get to a point where you were looking at these commissions and at this type of basically strategy and decide to go to where you are now?
I felt like it was the best way to serve my clients, to take that off the table. You still can have some types of conflicts of interest. For example, if my client is faced with the decision of paying off their mortgage from the money that I'm managing for them, that's going to be lowering my revenue.
Because you're making a percentage based on the amount of money that you manage.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a decision to make. And I made that decision a long time ago that I was going to encourage the client to do what they felt was going to give them the most peace. And oftentimes that's paying off the mortgage.
Sure.
I've taken on numerous clients that we've when they went into retirement, we took that money and we paid off their mortgage. However, I will say that there's a lot less conflict of interest. It's hard to completely eliminate the conflict of interest, but it's a lot lower. So that's what got me to want to do this was that, hey, I'm tired of looking at the products. I want to be able to go out there and look at all the products, all the insurance products, all the annuities, all the mutual funds, all the ETFs, all the third-party managers that I have the choice to work with through Charles Schwab, which is the largest custodian in the world now after they bought TD Ameritrade. Mm-hmm. And I can go out there now and literally pick my clients out extremely low-cost investments for them that have excellent track records, including even when we're on the private equity and hedge fund side for some of my accredited investors.
That's a really good point, Tommy, because you're talking about not only are you tempted by these big commissions in that previous role, but you're also limited in what you have access to make commissions off of. So now you widen that scope of what you can offer to your clients. That's really a win for you and your clients.
It's beautiful because if their money that I'm managing for them goes up, then I'm going to get paid more.
Right.
And so I have no incentive to put them in expensive products that are going to drag on the performance, and products that are expensive for the taxes. We all have to pay taxes, and a lot of clients don't understand, and we'll talk about that in a future show, but just the taxes that are paid inside of mutual funds, regardless of whether or not you're withdrawing that money outside of an IRA or selling a gain.
Yeah, that really is important because you're kind of like you talked about temptation a moment ago. You're foregoing that temptation of making that quick commission, that quick buck right now, but for the longer term goal of growing your clients' portfolios, growing their total assets. And if you're compensated based on a percentage of the amount of money that you're managing, you end up having a win-win situation in the end for everybody.
That's right. You feel like you're sitting on the same table as your client. We're all here together to not only want to see your money grow, but we're also here to invest the money in a way that's going to help you reach your goals. And for me personally, being fee only and being a fiduciary also means that every single one of my clients that comes in the door that I do business with has a financial plan with me. And we review that once a year, just like we do the investments and the taxes. We review the taxes once a year.
What are some tips, Tommy, as we get to our last few minutes here of today's show? We're approaching the end of the year. As I mentioned, we're recording this on December 16th. What are some general things you're telling your clients and you're seeing your clients deal with as they wrap up their 2020 finances and look ahead to 2021?
That's a great question. What we're trying to do right now is we've been fortunate because of COVID, we don't have to take required minimum distributions.
Right.
So it's been a great year for that we can kind of sit back and let the money grow some more. And it's been a good year for that as well because stocks have gone up and interest rates have gone down, bonds have gone up. So one of the things that we're doing here at the end of the year is that we're kind of saying, okay, we're not going to take these required minimum distributions. We don't have to. We'll wait until 2021 and go in and do it that year. Most of them. Of course, I do have some clients that still will want to take and are taking their money out because they got used to it.
Yeah.
And they have certain projects that they want to do. But for the most part, that's what we're doing. And real quick, John, is it okay if I go back to the fee only issue real quickly?
Please, absolutely.
Okay. So when people, if you're listening to this show or watching this show on YouTube, when you go out to look for a financial planner, it's real easy. You want to use the verbiage fee only and fiduciary. Those are your top two words that we're trying to use, not fee-based. And fee-based is very, very, very confusing for many people.
That's that hybrid model you were talking about earlier.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Just continue.
Fee-based is a term that is thrown out there and you'll hear it, and it's the truth to say I'm fee-based, but it doesn't mean that they're not selling you products for a commission. And I want to make that very clear that if you are watching this show, another organization that I'm a member of is called NAPFA. And that is a fee-only organization for financial planners and financial advisors all across the country. And that is one that, of course, Clark Howard recommends as well. And you can always contact our office and we can certainly be a resource for you in being able and provide for you our checklist that we have that you can use as you're interviewing advisors to make sure that you're getting one that is fee only and a fiduciary.
We have about 5 minutes left, Tommy. What are some of the things that you should be asking a potential financial advisor to determine if they're the right fit for you? Obviously, you want to ask if they're a fiduciary. Obviously, you want to ask if they're fee only versus fee based. What are some other things you should think about in having that conversation? And I know sometimes it's a difficult conversation to have because you're putting somebody on the spot. And by nature, most of us are people pleasers. We don't want to sort of cause any friction. But it's important to know that you're comfortable with somebody who's managing such a large part of your life.
Boy, is that true. So I think you want to ask them how often you'll meet with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think you want to ask them if they're going to be providing you with a financial plan and one that can be updated on a regular basis, because we know that the investment piece is very important. You'll want to ask them their investment strategy. They should be able to explain that to you, what type of investments they use, and you want to know the cost on those investments. If you have a certain amount of money, you'll want to know, do they offer tax planning?
Yeah.
I think that's very important for what we do. I meet with my wealth management clients once a year and helping them to save in taxes. And oftentimes the money that I save them in taxes will pay my fee forever.
Yeah.
And so it's very important, I think, to meet on the tax planning piece, as well as for my wealth management clients. Again, my wealthier clients will have insurance policies. Ask them if they will review your insurance policies. Is that part of what they're willing to do for you as well? I think those are some of the questions. You want to know where your money is going to be custodied, who is their custodian? I think that's an important question.
Sure.
Just some off the top of my head there, John.
I want to go back to the tax thing that you mentioned, because that is so
Yes, sir.
important, because the tax code is so complicated, and that's where, having a financial advisor, having a CPA, all those things play into it. And we see things changing so quickly because we have the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed by President Trump in 2017. We have a new administration coming in 2021. I'm not sure as of right now where the Senate's going to go. That comes down to your state there in Georgia. So
That's right.
we'll come back and visit that in January once we have an answer on that. But taxes and tax codes can change so quickly and so often. If you don't have somebody who's on top of it, you really risk paying so much more in taxes than you would need to, as opposed to having somebody advise you of the right way to handle everything.
Well, that's exactly right. It's amazing to me that, working with professionals actually is effective.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. I have a personal trainer. Not personal. I have a trainer where I go to either CrossFit. I'm now thinking about switching to Orange Theory just for my back.
Yeah.
But,
kettlebells are killing you, huh?
Yeah, those kettlebells have got me a little bit there at the age of 46 here. And I have back problems that are hereditary. So, and then in my stretch class, I have a coach. I have a doctor that is a functional doctor that I go to. He's quite expensive. He's internationally known, and he helps me he looks at my blood, my saliva, my urine. And not to get into too personal details here, but the point being is that there is a reason that people that have trainers, that people that have functional doctors, that people that have financial planners are in better financial shape than those that don't. And is something where I'm spending the money on my education, where I'm required to do 30 hours a year on education, 60 hours every 2 years for NAPFA, which is as much as any industry, any profession in the world, except I believe CPAs are required to do more.
Okay.
They're the only one, not lawyers, not doctors, but at what I'm doing right now, 30 hours a year, it's quite a bit. And then of course the software that I purchase to do the planning with my client, that's updated on a monthly basis with the tax codes for each state. And so these are things that I'm doing every single day. And when you take your car, let's just say it's a Ford, and you go to a Ford mechanic, he's going to know more about that car than you are.
Well, being here in Michigan, I'm glad you said Ford.
That's right. Well, I said Ford. I don't drive a Ford, but a lot of people do.
Right. Fair enough.
And so, and the same thing, when someone brings to me their financial situation, this is something I've been doing for 20 years. I studied it at Georgia Tech. My dad was a money manager my whole life as a boy. And so this is something that I'm experienced with. And so when they come to me about the taxes, going back to your question, we sit down and we look at their tax returns and what's going on with the taxes that they're generating. And we come up with ideas and ways, changes that they can make that'll reduce their taxes.
Great. Tommy, if somebody wants to come talk to you at Third Act Retirement, what are the best ways for somebody to find you?
The best way to do it is to go to our site or call into my office and set up a retirement ready success call. It's just a 20-minute call. We'll go over where they are now and where they want to be. And then I'll share with them some tips that I'm using with my clients, and they'll walk away feeling good. And at the end of the call, we'll decide if we want to have a second call. There's no cost or obligation.
No cost. It's almost like a first date. All you got to decide on a first date is whether or not you want there to be a second date, right?
Yeah, but that's real hard for some folks.
Fair enough. Website and phone number before we go.
Website is thirdactretirement.com. And our phone number is 1-800-917-5016, or locally 770-971-2888.
Great stuff, Tommy. Pleasure being with you. Look forward to our next episode.
Thank you, John. Pleasure's mine.